first off, what do you make of the results we've got through this morning from AstraZeneca and University of Oxford? Average efficacy of 70%. What do you make of it?
Yes, good morning to you, and thanks for having me. I think that's exactly where we stand. So far we have seen the press release and not the detailed clinical data set and detailed results as such. So for us, actually the number we look for, or the number we measure or consider this, is the 70% average, given that a set subgroup that look different so far. And we'll get further results in due time or in the coming weeks and months. I would highlight though that I said Astra is testing different dose regimens, or actually the high dose, or standard dose in the main trials, being it in the US and other geographies of the world. So I think we'll get further data on what the actual number is. But I would say we focus more on the positive in terms of the messenger RNA, if I may say so, that, as you rightly pointed out, are in the mid-90s. And I think that's an awesome, or actually an outstanding result that shall drive adoption. And I think that's probably something to speak about, given that there is still a lot of skepticism from, I would say, the main population towards vaccines and the accelerated program we have seen so far.
And on that front, clearly the two mRNA vaccines have efficacy on their side. 95% is awesome, as you just described. But on the flip side, it's much harder to actually maintain, preserve, and distribute these vaccines. Pfizer requiring minus 70 degrees Celsius to preserve the integrity of the vaccine versus AstraZeneca, which can be kept at regular refrigerator temperatures for up to 6 months. How much of an impediment do you see those special conditions being to the wide adoption of mRNA vaccines?
I think that's absolutely fair, and we have different points to consider in terms of how broad the adoption and how quick the adoption will be. So first of all these vaccines so far need 2 shots. I think that's going to be a question mark that's still open in terms of compliance and how efficacious the companies and obviously the healthcare system can manage this in terms of first shot and then 30 days plus minus later the second shot, as well as other logistics and manufacturing capacity and capacity constraints we have. So I think Pfizer, BioNTech clearly have this question in terms of the challenge. I think that's a certain limitation, mostly towards probably the Southern Hemisphere or poor nation, where I said the distribution and the logistics will be really challenging. I would say in Europe or in the US, I think we can all handle this, being a dry ice shipment and special shipment. But we think this is actually the advantage for Moderna in context of Pfizer BioNTech as such, in terms of being easier in logistics. And that's for sure as well the case for the subunit vaccines that we have not talked yet, as well as the adenovirus vectors, such as what Astra or J&J have in development. So I think in the end, given that we have capacity constraints for all these vaccines, at least in the coming months and even quarters, I think it's important to have different options and to segment these vaccines in the right way. And let me repeat here again, I said, I think key is how will the healthcare system and politician now motivate people to go for vaccination and have the right sequence of vaccination in terms of that the appropriate people or at-risk group are in the first wave of treatment versus then the broader population in second and third wave, I would call it.
And certainly the rollout of the vaccination is going to be key, as you mentioned, a key to who takes it up first. But I just want to turn you back to markets. Looking at the European healthcare sector this year, it's actually down on the year, down about 3%. The rollout of a COVID vaccine, is that just positive for the companies that are manufacturing them, or would you say it is a positive for the sector as a whole?
I think it's a positive for the sector of all. I think what you point out is probably more a reflection of shorter term capital flows, meaning people take certain capital off the table in sectors that have been more defensive and that have held up better initially, and now try to play catch up in cyclicals and other names that clearly can benefit quite substantially if obviously the rollout of the vaccine is successful. That this will take time, so we shall not forget about the timelines. We think actually the sector will benefit in a broader fashion, being it the acceptance in the population. I think the awareness of how efficient and important as well the industry is for the overall healthcare system. The pandemic, as said, has proved that. I think the industry has responded in a really outstanding fashion, coming together, collaborative together as such with the regulators, the healthcare authorities, as well even to the capital markets. I think the sector will benefit both from the life science diagnostic side all the way to treatment. And I think the most important ones, and that's what we have called out for quite some time now, is that I said the prophylactic vaccines are really crucial. And we think actually they come at very fair pricing as such. We have not touched base on this one, but we think that's the other side of the economy, that I said these vaccines come at low price points, even for the Western world. And I think it's great news that Astra and J&J and others are considering how to price these vaccines as well for actually geographies with less economical power as such.